what's going on, Bucket Crew? Thanks for joining us. We got Daniel, and then we got Ford as well. Probably got a pretty good show for you coming up. We're gonna talk more current instead of historic. What we did in the first episode. We're gonna keep it shorter as well. Random fact though, Ford. I was gonna tell you. I was reading. This has nothing to do with the show today, but I was reading.
Right
Do you remember AC Law?
Yeah.
Dude. So did you know? He's a lefty, right?
That's deep memory.
Okay, so he was a lefty, right? But
but he's also an Aggie, so.
Yeah, right. But he was pretty cold-blooded at A&M. But I just found out that he's actually a right-hander, and he broke his right hand in middle school, and so he changed his shot. How crazy is that?
I know. It's just when you know someone's a good athlete.
Yeah, no, they're born to play the game. They're born to play the game. Well,
I'm about to have a kid, and so with your kid, are you like, I wanted to be a southpaw?
Dude,
so
I was.
Absolutely
was.
You try and pick?
So it's interesting. My son's 4, right? He'll be 5 in July, but his first, when he was 2 and 3, he kind of shot lefty, and I was so excited. But the last year, he's just transitioned over to the right hand, and I'm kind of.
It was meant to be, bro. It was meant to be. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It
is what it is. So, well, let's get into it, man. So, what we wanted to talk about, obviously, if the season resumes, which there's some chatter about it that it might. Let's talk about the playoff picture. Let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, like a little recap of what's been.
Yeah, exactly.
What's been happening.
What do we think? I mean, you have 8 teams, but you have 2 or 3 in each conference that are actually relevant, and that's kind of what I was thinking we would talk a little more detail about.
Yeah.
I guess the thing we could talk about too is who might get that 8th spot in the West.
Yeah, I think the East is pretty set. Where if we roll with an 8-team deal, it's going to be Bucks, Magic, Raptors, Nets, Celtics, 76ers, and then Heat, Pacers. But if we look at the West, I think the Pelicans and the Kings have the same record. The Spurs are a game behind them. The Suns are a game behind that, and the Blazers are a game above everyone in the 9th spot at 29 and 37. So all these teams are under 500. But really, if you play, maybe even if we don't play out the rest of the season, I mean, most of these teams have played 65 games. They're somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But they're just 3 games. This whole 9 through 12 could switch completely.
It's wild. It makes it fun.
And wild too to see Portland kind of here on the inside looking out or outside looking in. If you look at them being 3 games out of the 8th seed, the Grizzlies. Like if you told me at the beginning of the year the Grizzlies would be the 8th seed with John and Jaren Jackson in a crew of some misfits, and Andre Iguodala don't even play for them.
Yeah.
And the Trailblazers bring back the same team, but adding somewhat of an average piece, but a piece in Hassan Whiteside, and they're sitting 3 games behind them. It's great.
Yeah. No, it's.
they were Western Conference Finals.
That's what I was going to say. They were in the Western Conference Finals last year. And talk about Memphis, we can talk about it merges into another topic we'll get into, but I think a lot of that's heavy on that rookie.
Yeah.
He's pretty special. So, and then you go to the East, they're going to make the playoffs, but how disappointed have you been in the 76ers this year?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, they're 3 games out of being kind of the 3-4 seed arena, but right now they're sitting at 6. And I think I love their pieces, but I don't love the whole.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a good way to put it, because I personally am one that believes that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are both great players, but they don't play together well. They're just not
When you go look at the 2 of them separately, it's pretty incredible stuff how they can run a team of much lesser parts as kind of a greater whole for themselves and for the team without one another. They all take up the same space. It's almost like the team has 3 power forwards and a center.
Yeah. And so the lanes, because Ben Simmons, I think we would see him, top 5 player in the league if they surround him with shooters, true shooters, right? Like
I think he needs to shoot better to be a top 5.
Agreed. I'll agree with that. But
certainly a meaningful.
He has the potential to be top 5, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think he's getting kind of the short side of the stick by being stuck with, a Horford, who's a great player. Talk about a guy that's extended his career. But
and everybody loves Horford.
Yeah, he's a great teammate. I'm not talking, but
But yeah, no, totally.
And Horford can shoot outside, but you've got Horford and Embiid. It just And both of them can shoot. I mean, they can keep you honest from the outside the arc, but I don't know if it fits his style. And I thought
Yeah.
getting rid of JJ Redick, I thought they should have tried harder to keep him. 'Cause
Yeah,
he,
they essentially replaced him with Josh Richardson, which I don't think is. I mean, I would say like if I'm picking a one-on-one team, I'm gonna take Josh Richardson. But I know you're a big Duke guy, but JJ's really what spreads that offense out, and Josh Richardson's kind of above average at a lot of different things, but he's not necessarily some 3-and-D guy who's just lighting it up from deep.
yeah, no, and I think JJ Redick brought some experience, some of that. I mean, and I guess Horford does too, but it just if this was going to be. I mean, if assuming they don't make it, this is or would have been JJ's first year not making the playoffs in his career.
Yes, that's wild.
So
real question on this though. Let's just say you're Philly and somebody, the Clippers this season doesn't finish out, and the Clippers have 1 year of Paul George left. And they call you and they say, "Hey, I'm willing to give you Paul George for either Embiid or Simmons. Which one do you get rid of?"
Oh
And Paul George only has 1 year on his contract left with a team option.
man, I'd probably get rid of Embiid, and I think he's the best. I think I'd go with I'd probably keep Simmons.
I think Embiid might be the technical better player, but I think I'd give him.
Yeah, and you think about his injury. I mean, Ben Simmons missed his rookie year. I get that, but like 7-footer, little injury prone. Yeah, like I mean, I bet on Simmons on that one.
Yeah, I'll take the 6'9" guy who's point forward long term.
Yeah, although I will say he's kind of been a letdown so far.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people thought he would learn to shoot a little bit, and it just really hasn't happened at all.
I mean, I think when you hit a three and the crowd goes ballistic in a preseason game, that lets you know that you're underperforming in that realm of the game.
Yeah, it's just the game's changing. But at the same time, I mean, he is what the future of the league looks like, minus the jump shot.
Agreed.
And that's why he's the #1 pick. That's why he was a big deal when he's going to LSU and he didn't make the tournament. He didn't make the tournament.
I know.
He didn't lead his team to the tournament, and he's the #1 pick, like hands down.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I think he's fantastic.
No, I think he's special for sure. Absolutely. So let's talk about I think everyone can look at the standings and see who's going to be in the playoffs. So let's talk about who takes it, right? Who gets out of the West? Who gets out of the East? Because I think it's the West, and you said even before we got on, the West really I think comes down to 2 or 3 teams, and the East. It's kind of the same number, but it feels a little more competitive for whatever reason.
Sure. It's
so
less clear.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, do we want to cover the East first?
No, let's start with the West.
Okay. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say everyone knows the two most powerful teams in the West are both LA teams,
right?
The Clippers and the Lakers. So, and you made an argument for Houston, which they are figuring out their small ball. The reason I don't see
it slid quick towards the end of that.
It did. Well, people, and why I don't believe in Houston is I just don't think small ball can work for a 7-game series. I think teams,
sure,
they'll put an X and O in place, of a system in place to really challenge that style of play, and I just don't see Houston being able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the Lakers have a better shot at killing that in a 7-game series with having Anthony Davis be able to just post everyone up and dominate the paint and get rebounds.
And also handle it defensively.
Yeah, totally. And be able to switch with all these guys as they're constantly switching. The Clippers in theory are more switchable, but at the same time, I don't think they have that big guy that can just go straight up get buckets on this team.
Sure.
And take care of it. They've got Trez, but I've not been super impressed with Trez Harrell this year. And he's only 6'9", so he might as well be playing center for the Rockets anyways. But I think the Lakers have a lot easier time if in a 7-game series against the Rockets.
No, I agree. And I will say, I think what is the advantage the Clippers would have, obviously, is their defensive prowess. You got Kawhi Leonard, which I don't even have to say anything, and then you got Paul George, and then you got Pat Beverly. Like they're going to be the nitty gritty, in your face, kind of Dennis Rodman, almost bad boy-esque of today's standard, right? Not near as physical because you're not allowed to be, but I still definitely tip my hat to Clippers on that. But
Yeah,
I agree with
you know what's interesting is when you watch that Last Dance and you see like Pippen and Jordan kind of blitzing people at the top and holding up the ball carriers at the trap, kind of like at the half court line almost.
Yeah.
And some stuff, and they're just so ragged defensively. And I think Kawhi and Paul George are like that. But what if they just ran a trap or like a press with those guys? Can you imagine coming up against that?
I would like to see that. Maybe he's saving that for the playoffs.
That'd be so much fun. If 2 minutes left of the playoff game, down by 4, they have to just go into that survival defense. That'd be so much fun to watch.
That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, man. So who do you get? Let's say, I think we both agree. I mean, when it all comes down to it, at least on paper, Clippers probably come out of the series. LA comes out of the series. They meet.
Sure.
Let's say they meet in. Unless you disagree, right? I personally think it's going to be the Clippers.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, my thoughts on the West are you've got the Lakers, the Clippers, and then the Rockets have an outside shot just because of how different they are. I don't see the Nuggets winning it. I just don't think Murray's a good enough number 2 guy. Porter Jr. is just not quite there yet. Kind of got a weird thing with him anyways. The Jazz, you're probably higher on the Jazz than I am. Plus, not to mention, there's some massive chemistry issues going on there now. So if we resume the season, totally different than where it was, March 10th. So that's as well. But I think the Rockets are the only team that could potentially, shoot your lights out and win a series. But yeah, I think it boils down to the Lakers and Clippers. Your audio is messed up.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll work. Is that better?
Yeah,
okay. Got that high tech equipment coming in, failing on me. So let's switch over to the East. Let's talk about who gets to the Eastern Conference Finals on that one.
For me, this one's pretty easy. For one team, I think the Bucks are clearly there.
Uh-huh.
Raptors, Celtics will be another. That's an interesting one. Jason Tatum towards the end of the season was playing lights out. He almost became like a top 5 guy.
Yeah, he almost. I mean, if it wasn't for Giannis and LeBron, he definitely. I think people would be talking about him as a potential MVP candidate.
Yeah, completely. He totally shifted everything. But the Raptors are great team ball, and I'm kind of a sucker for great team ball, and the Celtics have a good all-around team.
So I personally, I think Milwaukee gets out no matter what, no matter who they face. I think they've proven that they are, man, they're just so good. But as far as, hold on, we're having issues. Can you hear me, Ford? All right, so let's switching over from the West over back to the East. Who do you see in the East, the West, the Eastern Conference Finals on that one?
Yeah, for me, I think one team's pretty easy. See Milwaukee back there.
Sure.
They've only lost 12 games all season. It's pretty ridiculous what they've accomplished. And then it comes down to me. For me too, the Heat I think are interesting. I'm not a Butler believer as a finals guy.
Yeah.
In the 76ers, I think we already kind of covered the issues there, and I see them stalling out in the series similar to last year with the Raptors, even though that came damn close.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd see it coming down to the Raptors and Celtics, and even though Jason Tatum probably turned himself into a top 5 player the last 15 games of the season,
Absolutely.
I've always been a team guy, so I'd have to end up going Raptors, just kind of a little bit deeper team, a little bit more, mellowed throughout, and similar to I think Lowry's a real winner now. Obviously, he's played a bunch of conference finals, but won a ring last year. I'm kind of a Lowry guy. He's feisty. I think he's ready.
Before last year too. Historically, he always struggled in the playoffs too.
I know, and he played well. I think Siakam's turned himself into a complete star, and I love the supporting cast there too. So I have to roll with them. I'm going to take experience to get to the finals, but I certainly see Milwaukee coming out of it.
For the entertainment of our audience, I was hoping you'd say someone else because I actually completely agree. I think Siakam has really become. He's not Jason Tatum, but he's really stepped into that Kawhi role. I mean, now he's not Kawhi. I understand that, but he does it all, and he can get you a bucket when you need a bucket. And they just, for whatever reason, their chemistry just as a unit just seems second to none for me. So
Yeah.
I see the Eastern Conference Finals being not Boston, Toronto and Milwaukee as well.
So yeah, if this comes down to it, I think we both believe these teams are relatively similar.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you take in a coaching battle? Like, it doesn't matter. His guys will beat your guys. Your guys will take your guys and beat his guys. Like, do you think Nick Nurse or Brad Stevens is a better coach?
I think Brad Stevens is a better coach.
Interesting.
I do. I think
Nick Nurse has a ring to talk to you about, bro.
He does. And so, and give credit where credit's due. But no, I'm gonna give the nod on Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is arguably one of the best. I'd probably still give the nod to Pop, and maybe that's me being just too old-fashioned. But I almost want to say Brad Stevens is the best X's and O's coach in the game right now.
Yeah.
So
I think I could agree with that. I mean, if you're saying like all-time Pop, certainly you're taking Pop. But if you're saying like Pop in 2020, like I can see Stevens.
And that's a separate issue. But like this is the first season that I'm like, is Pop gonna adjust with the times a little bit? I know that's not the Pop way, but I mean I
think Pop's gone in a couple of years. I think it's.
Yeah.
I mean, he's old. His wife passed away a few years ago, and his teams aren't really where they were. I don't know what's here. Like, is he really willing to do a whole nother rebuild? And if you're a general manager, do you really look to Pop and be like, oh, let's have this guy like sculpt more young minds? I mean, when he was sculpting young minds with Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Ginobili, that was 20 years ago.
No, so, exactly.
I don't know. It's hard to fully say. I think you and I talked about this before. Like, does Pop really a rebuild guy? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, kind of, we've had that even conversation with Rick Carlisle a little bit. I remember.
When the things were really dire with the Mavs.
Yeah, and then they went and drafted a Slovenian kid that gives us a little bit of hope. But
yeah, that's the Knicks about Phil Jackson and his deal.
Yeah.
Where do you rank Siakam in the East as far as players? Like, you've got Giannis, probably Tatum. Do you have them? I mean,
so it's interesting. In the beginning of the season, I would have ranked him above Tatum. But right now, I give it. So I'm going to go Giannis. Obviously, is a clear number one for me. And then I probably would go Tatum. I'm making sure I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like Trae Young.
So Trae Young's the most exciting for me to watch.
Yeah, Butler, Oladipo, Simmons, and Embiid. I'm not counting KD, but you have Kyrie.
No, see, and I'm a big fan of Kyrie's handling abilities. I think it's a lot of fun to watch, but I don't think he fits today's game. I think Siakam fits today's game, so I'll probably give Siakam third right now.
I think I agree with that.
So, and that's just, I think last year was huge being able to basically learn under Kawhi when he's the same type of build, same type. I mean, it was. I think that was as good as the Raptors could have wanted that to go with that 1 year. You get a championship. Yes, you lose the best player, right? But
they never cared.
I don't think they ever expected him to stay. Like, it was one of those things that, like, you went for a championship and it worked.
Yeah.
And so and now you got this young guy out of New Mexico State, one of the two. That's kind of a very similar build that's making his name, and you can build around him now. So it's just perfect for them.
Totally agree. And Fred VanVleet.
And man, talk about a kid that came from nothing to something.
Totally. But so do we both have? So
we both have the same. We have the same matchups on both sides.
Are we both?
I hope we disagree eventually.
I know. So I mean, clearly, I think you expect the Bucks to come out of the East.
I do. I don't think Giannis is going to lose that again.
Good. I mean, the only way that they could really get better with losing Brogdon was for him to level up, and I think he leveled up. I think now he's down to a step and a half from the half-court line for a layup. Step and a half. So.
It helps to have a 12-foot stride.
Yeah. Do you expect the Heat to make any noise, or do you kind of feel like, they play real well and then they get taken down 5?
They're definitely going to get to the second round. And, my thing with the Heat necessarily isn't this year. I think you got to watch out in a year and the next 2 years. Like, I think the Heat can be a real contender for a championship. As long as Butler can stay healthy, because he gives them that, talk about a guy that was really getting viewed as a cancer, and going to Miami was like perfect for his career.
Well, it's because he's the guy now.
He's the guy. He's the guy, but
the guy.
it helped that he had young guys that like weren't exactly known, right? Like, I mean, you had Goran Dragic and
Adebayo.
But like Adebayo's young, so it just was a match made in heaven for him.
Real quick, and then I want to go over to the West, but surprising stat that I came across today is that Bam Adebayo averaged 5.1 assists a game this season so far.
I did not know that.
I would have guessed like
2 or 3.
Yeah, that was a good thing. So
dude, he might be the most athletic center in the league. In fact, I'm going to say he is.
Yeah, I mean he's
6'9".
He's got potential to be kind of the next wave of great centers. So
yeah, he's an undersized guy because I think he's only 6'9", but he's so athletic, so energetic, and he seems to be a great team guy, great locker room guy. Kind of checks off all those boxes. So.
And he won the skills challenge, right?
Yeah, he did do that.
Yeah.
So, well, switching over to the West, this one's a little more interesting for me, because I think it's going to come down to health. Obviously, it always comes down to health, but specifically with this team, this matchup, especially on the Clippers side, because they haven't. The one thing about the Clippers, if you want to knock them, is they really haven't played with the same unit very much.
Yeah.
And that can actually really matter come playoff time, especially when you're going up against a LeBron-led Lakers.
I think Kawhi and PG-13 have only played, I think, like 18 or 20 games together.
Yeah.
So you just worry about that. You just worry about that when you're talking about almost playing a series where I mean, assuming they get to the Western Conference Finals, they will in theory have played more games together in the playoffs than they would have the regular season.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. Kawhi Leonard, and he's just a gamer. So, like, I think he's going to make – yeah, so last year with Toronto, he only played 60 games. So, he missed 22.
He's on the load management. It's just – you make a damn good point. Why was it not a big deal this year, but it wasn't a big deal last year, but it's also a big deal this year?
Yeah, so I think it's more of just white noise, to be honest. He's proven time in and time out that he's a gamer. And he's going to show up when it matters.
Yeah, it's the haters. Would you expect Paul George or Kyle Lowry to be able to form to another teammate easier?
That's a good one. Man, I'm gonna give the nod to Kyle Lowry.
I'm gonna give it to Paul George just because he's not like as ball dominant.
The reason I would give it to Kyle Lowry is actually the same reason, believe it or not, just because he's that point guard and he's like, not saying Paul George doesn't study film, he has to study film, but Kyle Lowry, if he's doing his job, he's gonna be studying film and seeing where he needs to get the ball to certain guys in certain spots.
Yeah, it's not like he's a ball dominant point guard for sure.
No,
I can plug that. He's
disagreed on something.
There you go. All right, there's television right there.
So, yeah, I'm gonna give it to Kyle Lowry, which is crazy because I'm actually probably more of a Paul George fan in that regard. But who do you see coming out of it? I mean,
I think it's the two LA teams. I hate to like fully say it, but I think everything this whole season has been heading that ever since Kawhi was between the two after leaving Toronto. It was clear he wasn't going back there. He was between those two teams. They both made big pitches to him, and he ended up with the Clippers, kind of the younger brother crosstown rival, and at the same time kind of fucked with the Lakers situation and not being able to potentially go out and sign another guy while they're holding cap space for him. And frankly, I think the whole season everyone's been looking forward to this, and I see it happening.
Do you? So I did, and what's going to be interesting for me is the last 2 weeks before the season was canceled, man, the Lakers were on a tear.
Oh yeah,
were on a tear, and that's what kind of made me switch over. And so I'm gonna disagree and say I think the Lakers, assuming they can pick up where they left off, start where they left off, I think, man, I don't see them losing in the West.
So do you think LeBron's ready to lose another finals?
Oh. You know, man, I definitely think he's going to get to the finals. So I personally think it's going to be the Lakers and Milwaukee, and I would be so ecstatic to see that matchup because one of the things I like about um, Giannis is Giannis kind of has that I don't give a crap mentality, right? Like he's not trying to be anybody's friend. He's not intimidated to play someone that he looked up to. He doesn't train with guys that um, man, I don't know. He's definitely gonna get to the finals for sure in my eyes. So
Okay, fair enough. So you've got Lakers, Bucks. Who do you take?
man, that's tough for me. I'm not a LeBron fan, quote unquote. Like I'm not like a LeBron guy, and the fact that I'm like not gonna bet against him to me is like shocking because I've bet against him his whole career pretty much. But I don't think I can bet against him.
You're probably right, like 70% of the time.
Say what?
You're right, 70% of the time.
Yeah, no, I mean his record's in the finals is nothing to leave. I mean the fact that he's been to as many finals as he's been.
It isn't, bro. I don't know why I'm being such a ragger. We're gonna get like we're gonna have 14 listens and 7 of them are gonna hate on us for
But I'm gonna give the nod to LeBron. I think unfortunately, I'm gonna say unfortunately because I'm not a huge fan of LA-based teams, to be honest. Appreciate the people that listen in LA, but I'm going to give the nod to LeBron. I think
I would say I think anytime you look at you have a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis, you have 2 of the top 5 players in the league.
Yeah.
And Giannis is fantastic. He might be the best player in the league. I'm sure there's some debate there, but I don't see Middleton or Bledsoe or any of the other cast of stars. I see them as Giannis with a good cast. It's a good cast, but they're not stars. And I take 2 stars over 1 all day.
Yeah, you can't compare AD and Middleton. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So now let's say it sounds like you were going Clippers Bucks.
Yeah.
Right? So let's talk about that. Who are you going to go with if it's the Clippers and the Bucks?
I just don't know if it's Giannis's time yet.
I think it's the same argument, right? Like
I think they're I hate to say like a full piece away. I want to say they're an upgrade away. Like, can you turn Eric Bledsoe into someone else a little bit better, like a little bit better combo guard with a little bit better shooting?
Sure.
I'm willing to sacrifice some defense and athleticism for someone who's a little bit better shooter and maybe a little bit better
distributor.
Point guard, true point. I never thought of Bledsoe as like the true point guard.
No, he's not.
That's fully need because Giannis is in of himself a point forward, but I just think you could upgrade one of these 5 positions or one of the 4 other positions on the team. You could upgrade somewhere, and I think that's what they're going to need.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think it's interesting too because when Bledsoe was backing up Chris Paul in LA, right? I think we all thought he was like gonna be.
Yeah, I was high on him. I mean, when he was coming out of college, he was a big deal.
Yeah, and so he was a great backup for Chris Paul. I mean, that was Clippers had a steal with that, but he just never he almost never got better, or he just was not really meant to have that starting role. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind starter. I feel like he should be the good stats bad team guy.
Yeah,
I don't ever see him as as a champion per se, but at the same time, he's done super well in that system. But with his athleticism, what they call like mini LeBron or whatever. This is the only he's coming out and he's just freak out.
I mean, and he's
essentially like he's like a poor man's Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison because he's more physical. He's pretty freaking athletic. But he can't shoot and he's not Russell Westbrook. Like that's a really good comparison. I go Clippers too. I think again Kawhi doesn't have that. He doesn't have that number 2 guy, which you would absolutely need when you're getting. I mean,
oh, you mean Giannis?
Yeah. Sorry. You're getting Kawhi thrown at you, and then they're like, oh, let's give Kawhi a break. Let's throw Paul George at him now. Like, dude,
what if Klay Thompson was on the Bucks?
Oh, jeez. I'd give the nod to the Bucks.
Okay, so I have this funny theory that Klay Thompson is the only person you could ever say, like, oh, what if you substitute like this player with Klay Thompson? No one will ever disagree with the fact that they would be better.
It's an upgrade.
Because he doesn't ever screw with what the other person is trying to do.
Mm-mm.
He's always the perfect complement.
Yep. Yeah.
So
No,
it's like man, do you think Jordan could win all those finals if Pippen went there, but they had Klay Thompson instead, in like current day, and you'd be like, yeah, I could see that.
Dude, that's crazy.
Game, no, he plays defense. Like you could throw him at anything. And
yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think Klay. I love Klay Thompson's game.
Do you think we could trade Kristaps Porzingis for Klay Thompson?
Oh, dude, I don't think they would take that. I don't think they would take that, but
it's an 8 if they're both like 26.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, no, shoot. If Dallas could do it, I just don't.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, so like
no, Dallas could do it all day long. Because I think again, I mean, Klay's the perfect guy, but can you imagine? He's got Steph Curry alongside of him right now.
What if he played with an all-time great?
Imagine he's robbing Klay Thompson's but like having Luka have that guy on the wing with him. Jeez. Man, I would take that over Porzingis.
Yeah, I'm with you. So real quick before we go, so in the East, do you have any? So we've got Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, Heat, Pacers, 76ers, Nets, and the Magic. Do you have any comments about any of these other teams that we didn't really touch on?
I'm shocked that the Magic are actually in that position.
Yeah, they're going to clearly make play. Like they're
and that's such a guard-heavy team. Not with a lot of great guards, but
yeah, I mean they're not doing anything of consequence.
No, but I mean they're definitely heavy down in the backcourt. But
well, not to mention that they've got my boy Michael Carter Williams, who I just still have not given up on.
Dude, I think it's time to.
Yeah, no.
Maybe.
But I went to a Magic game this year. I went to a Magic game this year, and I was happily surprised that he played about 25 minutes, and it was really fun to watch. And he had a good game too. But do you remember when the Mavs had a high draft pick? It was the year they took Dennis Smith Jr., and we were hoping that
they would take Jonathan Isaac.
Yes, that Jonathan Isaac would fall. Can you imagine him on this Mavs team? He would put we wouldn't even need Dwight Powell. Get out of here. Don't need you.
I don't know. Jonathan Isaac hasn't really developed yet. So
I like him though. But if you had KP at the center, Isaac at the power forward.
He's one of those guys. His ceiling's still there. You just hope he can develop in the next year or two. Or I'm probably going to sign off on that. As far as like passing on.
Yeah.
It took me years to pass on Jimmer. So and I finally officially was like,
no, Jonathan Isaac's like he's a good player. He's a good player. Like I don't know if he'll ever be the guy. So in the West, we've got Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Jazz, Thunder, Rockets, Mavs, and Grizzlies. And then we already talked about the kind of the last four: the Trailblazers, Pelicans, Kings, and Spurs potentially, and really even the Suns potentially being able to get up in there. But do you have anything to say about any of those teams? Like, I mean, I feel like we're kind of leaving the Nuggets low.
So yeah, I think the Nuggets deserve some respect. I'm actually not that high on the Jazz. I wasn't before, and I'm definitely not now. The fact that Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to play, reports say doesn't want to play with Gobert, I don't think that's a good sign. But hit my hat to the Thunder, man. Who thought they would be a playoff team? Not only a playoff team, but we're not talking an 8 seed, we're talking a 5 seed. Like, now would have they been able to hang on to that 5 seed? I think that's irrelevant because they're not going to win it. But like, I mean, credit to Chris Paul. He adapted his game.
Don't feel like shit, bro.
And they played, and they were playing some real good basketball. I mean, they're a pretty solid team, and they don't have. I mean, yes, Chris Paul was a star, but I'm not going to say he really is now. They don't really have one star. It's just a balanced team. I mean, I think SGA is going to be a star. At what level of star, I don't know. What tier that looks like, I don't know. But I'm going to tip my hat to the Thunder, and and I do think we kind of. I mean, we want to give some credit to the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets still are a good team, a real good team, but I just don't see them. I still think they're a little off as far as.
Yeah, they just don't have the number 2. I think we hit on it a bit earlier. They don't have the number 2. Jamal Murray, I think he's a good player, and I think he's got plenty of time to develop into something better, but he's just not where he needs to be. And then a lot of it is so Jokic-centric, and a lot of it, too, if you watch him, is either him in the paint or him shooting. It's not like they're running a huge amount of pick and rolls from when I watched the games with
Yeah.
him. It's a lot. It's a lot of like dump and let him do his thing.
Well, and he kind of seems out of shape this year. I mean, he's a bigger guy, but like this year,
Just because he had the man tits, and he played super well. I think I'm not gonna rag him on that. That's kind of his thing.
no, I just feel like
He had just as good of a season this year as he did last year. But the real question is,
I don't agree. I don't think he's had that. I mean, I'll give you. So the one thing I'll give Jokic is when it's the end of the game and you need a bucket, the guy's going to give you a bucket, and it's like 6
Yeah, we
feet
saw
below
that
the
in
rim
Dallas.
because he's shooting it. He doesn't get off the ground at all, but he just gets you a bucket. So, but for me,
remember that game in Dallas where he made that
yes,
last year? Yeah.
yes, I do. He did it to us last year too.
Yeah.
So, but I just feel like this year he's been a little slower. That's just my take. So,
See, all right, so points per game this year versus last year, 20.2 this year, 20.1 last year.
okay.
10.8 rebounds last year, 10.2 this year.
See, 0.6. That's my argument right there.
He's shooting slightly less on free throws here. He's actually getting the line slightly less too. Effective field goal is higher this year, 565 as opposed to 545. And he's actually shooting a little bit more from three this year and shooting a little bit better.
Yeah, so maybe I wrote him off earlier in the season because he was out of shape.
17 points or 0.17. So I don't know. I think it's about the same. I'm not going to sit there and.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. I think, in all honesty, now that I'm thinking about it, I think what happened was he came out the season pretty slow, and I don't think I followed him very closely since.
So it's the funny thing. It's like all these NFL guys and professional athletes, like you see them, they're always like working out in the off season, like they're ripped and like they're in Cabo working out. And you're like,
right.
How does someone even look like that? You look down and you feel a little like, but then you see him and you're like, this guy's one of the top 10 players in the league, and he looks like my dad. Like it's hard to wrap your head around.
No, it is, man. It is.
The real question, then I want to wrap it up, is do you think that the Clippers could have traded Landry Shamet instead of Shea to the Thunder?
Probably. I mean, the thing is, in hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah. They had to have known what they had, and I don't think the Thunder knew what they had. I think the Thunder were like 6 first-round draft picks. Great.
I mean, the guy had a 2020 game this year, so he's special. He's special. I think he could really become something. I just hope he's not. There's so many guys that like start off hot, and then they just let you down the next couple of years, and I really hope he's not one of those.
No, I don't see that in him. I mean, talk about a frustrating situation. He was supposed to be the future guy in LA. Then they bring in 2 of the top 5 players in the league, or top 10 players in the league, and ship him off to the Thunder with.
Yeah, they loved him, man.
And they're like, sorry, like didn't really need you. Like you don't really feel like you're the stalwart in that trade. Like the trade wasn't the Shea for PG trade. It was all these first-round draft picks for.
Yeah.
He gets shipped along with it, and then he gets stuck, and they take in Chris Paul too, and he's the backup point guard in theory.
See, I kind of wish I could have been in that war room, man. I wish I could, because I would imagine they probably tried not to. I mean, just like LA did not want to give up. Are you kidding me? No, say what? Not Ingram. Dude, the guy. Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Dude out of Utah. What is his name? Why am I forgetting his name? We're gonna cut this probably. Say what? Kyle Kuzma. If you already said that, I apologize. I do not know how I could not think of his name. But they didn't want to give him up, and they were able not to. So I would imagine that the Clippers tried to do the same. But who knows? So, and that's a trade they had to make. I mean, they did give up like eight first-rounders. So their next decade's shot as far as drafts go. But
yeah, hopefully the season will resume so they get 2 playoff series out of them before their team options are up.
Yeah, that's
a big deal.
It's an interesting dynamic. It's going to be interesting. So
what's on the docket for next week?
Man, let's jump into some of the upcoming players, some of the players that showed out this year, some of the younger guys, and we'll get into that. I mean, I think there's a few names that obviously are obvious, but maybe some guys that aren't being discussed as much by the national media. And
then here soon we need to talk about point forwards and kind of how some of these ball players are, the evolution of some of these guys to some of these freak athletes and how it's kind of changing the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that 2 episodes from now. So Well, good, man. We appreciate you guys listening, and hopefully the audio was a little better than the first episode. But we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for everything.
See you, bro.
Bye.